Good evening and welcome to the final night of the 2020 Otter Tail County Community Debates. I'm R.C. Drews, and I welcome you to this live broadcast from the Fergus Falls City Hall. Thank you for sharing your evening with us, and we hope you'll leave tonight informed on your candidates for local office so that you can vote with confidence in November. Tonight's event is brought to you by the Fergus Falls Daily Journal, Leighton Broadcasting Company, and PEG Access Television of Fergus Falls. On behalf of our sponsors, a reminder that you can subscribe to the Daily Journal digital and print editions by visiting their website at www.fergusfallsjournal.com or by stopping into their new office within the historic Carnegie Building at 125 North Union. And check out their app, available on the Google Play Store and the iOS App Store. You can catch this event on Leighton Broadcasting's AM 1250 KBRF, but make sure to check out their sister stations, Real Rock Z103.3 FM, 96.5 FM KJ Country, and Channel 977 FM. And of course, catch this and more televised coverage of local news on local channels 8 and 18 from PEG Access. Tonight's event represents the concerns of all Otter Tail County with candidates for County Commissioner in Districts 1, 3, and 5. Our evening will begin with Dan Buckles and Betsy Roeder, candidates for District 1, which represents the northeast quarter of the county, including the cities of Perham, New York Mills, and Richville. Then, in approximately 30 minutes, Kurt Mortensen and Christine Tungseth will debate in the race for District 3, representing the county's southwest corner and the cities of Battle Lake, Dalton, and Underwood. Finally, in approximately 1 hour, incumbent Lee Rogness and challenger Angie Brown will take the stage in the District 5 contest, representing the city of Fergus Falls. So, with the preamble out of the way, let's get to the debate. The questions for tonight's debate have been written by myself and have not been shared with anyone to include any candidate, campaign, or media partner. As such, these questions are my own and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of our media sponsors or their affiliates. Candidates, as we begin, you will be given 3 minutes for opening statements before we move to the debate questions. During the questioning phase, responses will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker, unless otherwise specified. When you see our official in the front row waving a yellow flag, you have 1 minute remaining. A red flag means only 10 seconds remain, and should you exceed the maximum time limit, our official will hold up a white flag, and it will be my responsibility to interrupt. We ask that you be mindful of the time limits out of courtesy to your fellow candidates and to the audience. Also, a note that while any opposing candidate is speaking, you have the opportunity to move for a rebuttal. In that case, we will allow 30 seconds for rebuttal and afford one final response from the original speaker if they choose before moving on. With that said, Mr. Buckles, our alphabetical seating means that you have the floor and 3 minutes for your opening statement, sir.
All right. My name is Dan Buckles. I'm running for Otter Tail County Commissioner, District 1. I want to thank RC and the Fergus Falls paper for having this event tonight. And I also want to thank the Minnesota Twins for finding a way to lose their 18th straight game, so we are not preempted tonight. And another thing is I'm a lifelong resident of Gorman Township. I'm a 63-year-old dairy farmer. I own property on the north shore of Little Pine Lake. My father was James Buckles. He was county commissioner in the 60s and the early 70s, and he passed away coming to a county commissioner meeting. And so I've been dairy farming for 45 years. I took over the family farm in 75, and I've been there ever since. I'm a 45-year member of the Co-op Association, patron of the Milk Association. I'm a 2004 Conservation Farmer of the Year. I'm married. My wife is Andrea. We've been married for 35 years. She's a Dean of Education up in Mayville, North Dakota School. I have 2 children. I have a daughter that's a YMCA, a CEO in the YMCA in Alexandria, and I have a son that's a project manager in Hammers Construction in Perm. And I've been busy over the last, just being dairy farmer, tough job. So I know all about getting up and work, and we'll be okay. And I'm very nervous about this, too, if you guys haven't figured this out yet. The only people I talk to are the only ones I talk to are my cows, and the only time they talk to me is when they need to be milked or when they need to be fed. So that's the only answer I got to. All right. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roeder, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Betsy Roeder. I want to thank all of our hosts here tonight and my opponent here, Dan, for coming. This is a great opportunity to get information out to voters. I'm really passionate about being informed as a voter, so happy to be here and thank you. So I was born and raised in New York Mills. I left for college and lived in Minneapolis for 10 years, worked at Target headquarters during that time, and then I became a rural rebounder in 2011. So that's returning to my hometown to raise my own family. I do have 4 children, ages 6 to 13. I'm married to Nick Roeder. He works at Farmers and Merchants State Bank in New York Mills, and he's a volunteer firefighter and first responder in New York Mills. I have a degree in finance from Valparaiso University in Indiana and an MBA from the University of St. Thomas. I've been on the New York Mills City Council for 2 terms, and I've served on the Budget Committee all 8 years. My day job is the executive director of the New York Mills Regional Cultural Center, and I've learned a lot in that role as well, a lot about cross-sector partnerships, a true focus on community along with my work on the City Council, and how to deal with unpredictable budgets and financing, especially during the time that we're in now. I'm a lifelong member of Trinity Lutheran Church in New York Mills. I've been a Sunday school teacher and VBS volunteer. I'm an active volunteer on a variety of local boards, including the Civic and Commerce Association, the EDA, NYM 2025, and the Library Board. And I've also been involved in several county boards, including the Otter Tail Lakes Country Association Board, the OTC 150 Committee, the Otter Tail County Historical Society Steering Committee, and the Otter Tail County Community Development Agency Board. And really my involvement in those community and county boards that's really what motivated me to run for county commissioner. I really believe that Otter Tail County is the best place to live, work, and visit. And I think that we need to preserve and protect our assets and work toward continued progress and growth into the future. So really what I've learned from my involvement on those boards is that we need more workers in Otter Tail County. And in order to grow our workforce, we need housing and we need childcare. And to entice people to live here and work here, we need to be welcoming and inclusive to all of those who are willing to work and be productive members of the county. And we need to give them the tools and the support and the connections to do so. And this all leads to economic development, which then grows the tax base and keeps taxes low. I've got a lot of experience with budgets in terms of government, for-profit businesses, and nonprofit, and I've really learned to be fiscally conservative in order to balance those budgets. I'm involved, I'm passionate, and I'm solutions-oriented. I really believe strongly in finding commonalities and listening to people, learning from what I hear, and talking about the issues to really come together to find those solutions. So I'm really, again, grateful to be here tonight to do some of that talking now. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, candidates. We'll rotate after each question, so our first question begins with Ms. Roeder. Rather than beginning with studies and statistics, let's start tonight with a thought experiment. 2020 has been a challenging year for our region and for our country. The future is as cloudy as ever. But what do you believe Otter Tail County should be known for in the year 2050? Ms. Roeder, you have 2 minutes.
Ooh, that's a good question. Right now, I think that Otter Tail County is very fortunate to have a lot of amazing natural resources. We're the county with the most lakes of any other county in the United States. And as I mentioned earlier, we really need to protect those assets and preserve them. And so I think by 2050, that should still be what we're known for. We are a area that's beautiful. There's so much opportunity to get out and enjoy the lakes and the woods and all of our wonderful lands. And I really think that in all seasons, you can enjoy being a resident here. I also think, back to my workforce comment, I think we need to continue to be a welcoming and inclusive area. We really need to grow our population. Currently, we are the population is going to be declining with the workforce, the workable ages, and so we really need to work to get younger people to move here, and we can entice them with all of those assets that we have to offer here in Otter Tail County. So I'd like to be a really welcoming, inclusive county that takes care of its natural resources, takes care of its businesses, its farmers, and its residents.
Thank you. Mr. Buckles, what do you believe Otter Tail County should be known for in 2050?
Well, the main thing in 2050 I would worry about is the infrastructure of our roads. Back in 1960, when my father was on the county commission, they were taking gravel roads and making them into tar roads, and they were just making them for 5-ton roads. And now with the progression of the agriculture, we got heavier trucks out there. Everybody's using them rougher and tougher. and we got to get that going in the right way in 2050. As far as the lakes go, it's always going to be when I was in 60s, 70s, we were swimming in Little Pine Lake with turkey feathers. And today it's clean lake, and we just got to stay positive on it, keeping our lakes clean. That's very important. And we got to get rid of these now hiring jobs around East Ottawa County. There's way too many now hiring jobs, and we need jobs for all these people. And we got places for them to live, but we need to get those now hiring jobs full in 2050 so we're ready to go. That'd be very important. All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir. For a second question, our counties...
Can I respond to that?
Yes, absolutely, Ms. Roder.
Okay. I'm glad that Dan brought up roads. I agree that's definitely a priority for the county, and that is something we need to continue to be strategic about and pay attention to the age of the roads and the usage. And also, I think it's important that in District 1, where we get equal access to the funding for roads. I think that that's something I hear a lot that needs to be addressed. So thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. And I also think that the workforce, we really do need to address housing and childcare as well in order to get that workforce here.
Thank you. Mr. Buchholz, any further comment?
The child care thing is just, I've worked part-time in the construction guys in Perm, and that is probably their main concern right now is getting child care for their family. Their wives are working strange hours, and they're working strange hours, and they have no child care for them. The results are the numbers are out there. They're just stupidly high. There's 360 kids need available for child care right now in Perm. That's way too many. How we're going to get that solved, I don't know.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to our second question. Our county's network of outdoor trails are a valuable recreational resource, and systems like the Central Lakes, Lake Wobegon, and Paul Bunyan State Trails connect Otter Tail County to areas well beyond. Since 2014, the county has planned toward a new trail system from Pelican Rapids to Perham. But the effort has had its controversy. How does the county develop this and similar projects while still respecting the concerns of property owners along the routes of these recreational trails? Mr. Buchholz, we'll ask you first.
Well, I've been out since May 28th when I had signed this little yellow piece of paper. I was going to be a county commissioner. And that is probably the number one concern out there, what we're doing with Highway 34 and the bike trail. If we were growing up, we want a wants and your needs. We know we need a new road, but do we want a bike trail? That's when we were growing up, and now you got the hope factor in there too. But the wants and the needs are huge. We know we need the road, and the want is the bike trail. And to me, the start of that whole thing was handled totally wrong. You should have hopped in the car. The commissioner should have hopped in the car with the county engineer and said, "Hey guys, we're going to go down this road. We're going to tell everybody here what we're planning on doing in the future. Not hope and cross your fingers that eventually somebody's going to come to the Dent Community Center, the Perm Community Center, whatever, for a meeting. And the newspapers, put it in a newspaper to happen to fly right by it. We can't have that. It's something that big of a deal. You have to go face to face and tell these people we're going to do this. And try to tell people up in Butler and Corliss Township that we're building a $16 million bike trail. That's hard to sell over there when their roads are bouncing around and you can't drive machinery across it. It's a tough sale. So I don't know. It's a happy medium there, but what it is, trails are nice, but do we need it right now? I don't know. I would have said no. All right.
Sir. Ms. Roder?
So I agree with some of the points Dan was making. I think, first and foremost, I think the project was not handled as well as it should have been. So I think that's a tough one to argue. It wasn't handled well. I agree. I think getting out and talking to property owners is absolutely necessary. The property owners that needed to have their land used need to be compensated for that. So that was not handled well at all. I also think transparency is really important. So getting out there and being open about what's happening and communicating is key. I do want to talk, though, about trails, and I do think trails are very beneficial to residents and visitors alike. They're good for health and wellness. They're good for people getting outdoors. They're good for economic development. They're good for tourism. So I think overall, generally speaking, trails are a very positive thing for the county. If you look at other counties in the state that have trails, it's always a positive thing. It just wasn't handled well. So we can learn from that now. The project, there's lots of opportunity for learning and do it different next time. And then I also want to clarify the funding sources. That project had funds for roads and it had funds for trails, and those are grant funds that can't be spent on roads. So there is funding there that is only for trails. So it's not that choices were being made to do the trails instead of the road. It is a different funding source. So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you.
RC.
Yes.
The other day I was listening to radio. Duluth has 12 miles of bike trails. Now, Duluth, everybody thinks that's, sit out and look over the ocean or the Lake Superior and hills and all this. They only had 12 miles. And we're going to do a bike trail from Perm to Pelican Rapids. Is probably, I don't know how many, 6 miles to 35, and I don't know how far they're going to go the rest of the way. But that's all they have there. So I don't quite get this. Bike trails are good. I agree with Betsy here, but you have to draw a limit or someplace. If we could just extend the road.
Sorry, sir. I have to cut you off. Ms. Roeder, any further comment?
Just that we were able to add a walking trail in New York Mills in the last year. It's just a 1 mile loop south of town, and it's been a really positive thing for the community. So I think, as a resident of District 1, I think people are interested in getting out and using trails. It just has to be handled correctly.
Sure. Thank you both. Otter Tail County has a history of division, and some old wounds remain. Even today, the county hosts both an East and West County Fair and features many other duplicated amenities between the East and West sides. But like our country, we have always been strongest when we work together. As a county commissioner, what role would you play in working toward greater collaboration amongst board members and ensuring all communities are represented and supported? Ms. Roeder, you have 2 minutes.
This is a great question, and it's something I'm really passionate about. I think when it really comes down to it, we all have a lot more in common than we do that we have that divides us, and so that is something that I really focus on when getting out and talking to people. One of the things I've been doing during my campaign is getting out and talking to people through meet and greets. I have a Facebook page that I've been doing a lot of communicating virtually. I have gotten my phone number and email out, and I've really been hearing from a lot of people, and I've heard about all different issues and all different sides of issues. The trail was the last question. I've heard people on both sides of that argument. So I really think listening to people, being open-minded and willing to learn is key in all of this. And I think if we can all start from that place where we all live in this county, I think everybody wants to have a good and happy life and enjoy all that we have to offer in Otter Tail County. So if we start with that, I think we get a lot further. We can decide, there are certain things that we can agree to disagree on. I'm a big fan of civil discourse through the Cultural Center. We have the Great American Think-Off every year, and that's all about civil debate. And the idea is to really, truly listen to each other and try to find commonalities and reach points of agreement that will move us forward.
Thank you. Mr. Buckles, your thoughts?
All right, I'm a supervisor of Gorman Township. I went to supervisor school I don't know how many years ago already. The first thing we walked in there, the guy who was teaching the class hold up one finger. He goes, "You're only the one guy on this board. There's 4 other guys on this board. So until all 5 of them don't get along, we ain't going nowhere." Rule 1, if I want a new road past my place and the other 4 don't want it, well, I guess I don't get a new road past my place. So we got to work together with all this. If they want a new road in their part of the country, we got to go ahead and help them out too. So we have to be more amongst us 5. So I'm not going to run this county by myself. We're going to help the other 4. And we got to do it that way. There just has to be communication amongst all of us. Even with the bike trail, there was 4 other commissioners on this thing. And where they stand on it, I don't know. But we have to get unified on this whole works. Otherwise, it's, we're just going to do it, keep on hitting ourselves in the head on the whole deal. That's the main one I got to say about that.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to attempt to squeeze in one more question here before we go to our final questions. But to do so, we're going to have to allow 60 seconds for responses to this last question. So the final question is, the cities of Northeast Otter Tail County are on the grow. Since 1990, Perham has increased its population by more than 50%, and New York Mills by 30%. What can the county do to support the growth of small towns in District 1 and the rest of the county? Mr. Buckholz, we'll ask you first. You have 60 seconds.
Well, we have Dent and Richfield in there, and Dent is they're very progressive over there, too. They got, their town baseball was something for those guys forever, and they live off it. They were having state baseball tournaments in that town, and Richfield's the same thing, when they lost their general store, but they kept on getting some other stores in there. Perm progressive, period. That's all we can talk about. Those guys are always on the ball. They're one step seem to be ahead of everybody. They always want to get going. And it's a community effort there. There's no doubt about it. In the early 70s, we had some pretty big hitters there that saw this coming. The Nelsons and the Topkins and whoever else. They saw this coming and they said, okay, we're going to keep this town going this way. And they sure did. And it hasn't stopped yet with all the industry and we have there.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roeder, you have 60 seconds.
I agree. We're very fortunate to have wonderful communities in Ottertail County and particularly in District 1, and I think very unique communities as well. I think in terms of the county support, we really need help with infrastructure. Through the Ottertail County Community Development Agency, we have a couple programs going on now that help with housing, and that will help support that growth. So we have the Big Build, which is a goal to build 5,000 new housing units by 2025. There's a tax rebate program in place for building new houses, and that's from the county and from participating communities. We built a new child care facility in New York Mills, and to have continued county support on additional facilities like that throughout District 1 and the county, I think would be really helpful, as well as broadband access and support of education. These are all things that we need to continue to be able to grow our communities and the things that the county can continue to support us on. I also have roads written down, of course, equality. We need to have access to those funds for the entire county.
Thank you. Our final questions are a little different. Excuse me. The next questions will be for each candidate individually and will focus on their campaign in particular. I want to emphasize the intention of these questions is for the candidates to demonstrate their strengths despite challenges. The time limit will remain the same, though there will be no option for rebuttal, and we will reset the order of questioning. So we'll begin with Mr. Buckles. Mr. Buckles, 2 months ago, you were one of but two candidates to survive a heavily contested primary. Still, your campaign came in second, with the gap between yourself and your opponent at roughly 100 votes. So what have you done, and what will you do in the next month to raise your campaign's awareness to ensure a first-place finish in November? You have 2 minutes, sir.
Well, with the virus thing going around here now, it's been a really tough game. I'm telling you, when we started in May, and just to get out and get a hold of people and talk to people to make sure they would get out to vote in August was a huge, huge chore. And everybody asked me, how come there's so many people running for county commissioner? There's 6 of us. I go, hey, there's 8,000 people in this town or in this county, first district. That means there's 7,994 people that didn't want the job. There's 6 of us who wanted it, and we want it bad. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing it. So now we got 4. We had to narrow it down to me and Betsy, get it down to 2. And it was really a tough game out there just to get people out. I'm used to shaking hands and kissing babies like the old days, I can't do that. So now I went up with a sign thing, and we're campaigning all over, putting signs up. Every sign I put up, I sat and talked to these people. That's the main thing I've been learning now with this county. People want to talk, and people want somebody to listen to. It's huge out there. You stop and put a sign, ask me if you can put a sign in your yard. Next thing you know, you're having a half-hour talk, having a glass of milk, and you're drinking coffee with them. It's just the people want a commissioner to listen to them and do something about it. If we're going, that's the way we are in my Gorman Township. That's what I am. They call me and we get it done, and we do it. We don't wait on it. We're going to do it now, and that's what I'm all about.
Thank you, sir. In 2018, the Ottertail County budget was $105 million. Now, Ms. Roeder, it's fair to acknowledge your experience in local government, but what prepares you to oversee funding of that size, and how will you ensure your vote represents the desires of your constituents? You have 2 minutes.
So I'll go back to my experience in budgets. I have been fortunate to be involved in budgeting for the City of New York Mills, as well as when I worked at Target headquarters, I worked with budgets, and as well as the New York Mills Regional Cultural Center. And I've learned a lot in those roles. I did inherit a deficit budget when I was at the Cultural Center and worked hard to cut costs and run lean. And I have turned that, with the board and the staff, we have turned that financial picture around. I acknowledge that is a big budget on a county level, but, I think I would take the same, the things that I've learned from my experience on city council would apply at the county level as well. Understanding which departments within the county, are priorities, understanding how to do the things that we've talked about in protecting our assets, and really listening to people and considering the long-range strategic plan. That's a process that's been going on for 2 years. That's going to really help guide the county in terms of what the budget dollars are going to be spent on. And also, growing the economy, again, really spreads out that tax base and allows us to keep taxes low. So it's all about growing the economy and managing the expenses in the budget in order to really serve the people of the county. I do want to address the Otter Tail County District 1 residents. I very much would be representing all of the residents of District 1. I've been working to get out to township boards, to all 4 of the communities in Otter Tail County District 1. I've had meet and greets in all of them, and I've been working to connect with people. And I really think listening and learning about what the priorities are in those 4 communities in the 13 townships and truly representing all of those residents is really important to me as well.
Thank you. And thank you, candidates. You'll now have 3 minutes each for closing statements, and following our order, Ms. Roeder, you have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, thank you again, RC, and thanks to Dan, the Fergus Falls Daily Journal, Leighton Broadcasting, PEG Access Television, all of the residents out there who are listening in and making an effort to become informed voters. Thank you all for supporting this event tonight. I've been working pretty hard to earn people's votes in the last couple of months, and I believe I'm the most qualified candidate for this role. I've talked a lot about my experience tonight with budgets and being knowledgeable about the county issues due to my involvement on county boards. And I really think it's important to bring a new perspective to the county board. I'm a working mom, and I come with a lot of experience, and I think it's important to have those different perspectives of people that have been around for longer, but people that have those new perspectives as well. I'm really dedicated to fairly and equally representing all of the District 1 residents, as I just talked about. And I'm really humbled by all there is to learn from the residents of Otter Tail County. I'm ready to listen. I'm grateful for the engagement and the patience as we can work together on solutions. I've been fortunate to talk to a number of people through this campaign process and have already learned a lot just in these few months. And I really want to encourage people to get out and vote. I want you to do your research on your candidates, learn about each candidate, and vote based on your values and how those line up with the candidates and their qualifications and experience. Voting is a hard-fought right, and we really owe it to the generations of advocates before us to get out and exercise that right. So make a plan. You can visit mnvotes.org. You can call the Otter Tail County Auditor's Office. I actually voted early today, and it was very simple. So I encourage you to look into voting early in person or by mail, or vote on Election Day on November 3rd. Once again, thank you, everybody. Please do contact me if you have any questions. I have my information out there on Facebook. I will welcome phone calls and emails, and just really appreciate the opportunity to get out tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roeder. Mr. Buckles, you have 3 minutes, sir.
All right. Thank you again, RC, for having us here tonight. And well, my main issue here, after talking to all the people in the district, is the main concern of a common sense and get the job done, fair-minded. Like I have a postcard here that it says that I'm connected, purpose-driven, and fair-minded, and I'm a common-sense conservative. And I'm a retired dairy farmer committed to working hard for entire district, dedicated to maintaining lake and land quality. I live on a lake. I've been dealing with the lake people for land and resource managers for I don't know for how long. People need tonight. I'm supposed to be at a variance committee tonight. One of my neighbors is building a garage, and he needs my permission to go ahead and do it. It's just, that stuff never quits over there. So we have to get a stop to that kind of stuff. I've been a very active Gorman Township official. I live on the lake. Like I said, we have a kind of like a petting zoo. All summer, I have goats and sheep, and kids, grandma and grandpas bring their kids over, and we show them the farm, and then we sit and talk to these guys. There's some of these people there, the county commissioner from Moorhead's there. He comes over and visits. The Marco executive comes over and visits, and he says, Farmer Dan, you'd be a great commissioner. And I said, no doubt. I'm not going to argue with you. He goes, you sit and you listen and you talk to people. And he goes, that's so huge nowadays. And, we have to have that kind of people in our government. And I'm a hard-working guy. I got plenty of time to do it. I was thinking about running for commissioner when I was 50 years old. 23 years ago, but my kids are growing up, and that time you don't get back. So I just put it on hold, and I went start back seat in the Gorman Town supervisor. I was always, everybody needed a problem on Otter Tail or Little Pine Lake. I'd be there. They'd come over and ask Farmer Dan, what are we going to do? What should I do? I direct them the right way, and we got them installed, and they're happy. And that's exactly the same thing I plan on doing here for the whole county. And thank you for your time. Vote for Dan Buchholz and get milk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, candidates. That brings us to the conclusion of the debate for Otter Tail County District 1 Commissioner, but there's more to come. We'll take a brief 2-minute intermission as the next candidates take the stage, so stay tuned.